All right. Just a live to let y'all know I'm going to be going live more. That's basically what's going on here, but not exactly. I am trying to talk to you guys about finding the football because that is an epidemic that I'm seeing at all levels, but especially at the lower level. So we're here to talk about that, and if we could, get some folks on, we could talk about why we can't find the football. Why is that so difficult for us to look for the football? I have talked about it on a few um, videos that I've put up on this channel, and it really does stem from guys not feeling comfortable enough to um, look for the football. And that really just stems from having not caught enough footballs when at practice. There's all kinds of things that we have to do as DBs in our individual periods. I mean, we do have to tackle people. We're not wide receivers that just get to run around and catch the football and occasionally block. I must point that out. They occasionally block, but the majority of what they do is run routes and catch the football. And so they will catch way more footballs than us in practice, but it doesn't exactly have to be that way. We can do more on catching the football because it really, really is that much more important than I think what a lot of guys are making it out to be. And in this day and age of football at all levels, even down to high school, the big hit is being taken out of the game. They're just trying to keep people safe. And so, whereas in the past, you might have opted for just full speed running into a guy if he was coming across the middle, you must now change your mindset into intercepting the football. But I think primarily who I'm talking to when I'm doing this is the cornerbacks out there. A lot of you guys are finding yourself in press man coverage, and you're running on the fades and you're running on the post routes and all of those deep routes to corner routes. And you guys have just settled for looking directly at the receiver when you know that ball is in flight. And I don't know exactly what's going through each individual guy's mind. I just, know from experience a couple of things that might be going on. And one of those things is just fear, pure fear. And, some guys have described it as, I feel like the moment I look, the ball is going to be passing right by my head. I'm going to miss the ball and he's going to catch it. And then suddenly, now I can't get back to him and get him to the ground and tackle him. And then it's a really, really big play. I get it. Some guys have that issue going on. What's up? How you doing, Lance? So what we're talking about here, Lance, is DBs finding the football. We're trying to get down to that. This is not going to be a long live. It's the first time I've done a live in a long time. I am definitely planning on doing these on a more regular basis. So just kind of getting my feet wet with it here. So you guys can get used to me being here. I get used to doing these lives and we could talk more about stuff. So Lance, if you don't mind, you could kind of tell me your role. Are you a fan of football? Do you play football? Do you coach football? Are you a parent of a defensive back? Anything you could share with me there would be great. However, what I'm talking about here is guys having fear, looking for the football, and you really have to get over that. And the best way for you to go about doing that is just catch more footballs in practice. So even if it's some kind of routine that you set up pre-practice or post-practice, where for 10 minutes you are running, looking down the field, and someone throws you a deep ball, and by deep I mean something over 30 yards, 40 yards, and then they yell ball while the ball is in flight. And so you're turning your head around and the ball's already in flight. You don't want this situation where you're seeing the ball come out of the quarterback's hand, because that's just not realistic. We are in coverage, and I'm talking about DBs. We're in coverage, so we have to, for a good amount of time during the route, look at the wide receiver. So that's our reality. And then at some point, we can anticipate the ball coming, whether we get a clue from the wide receiver's face, his eyes start to get big, or you just can feel it. The route is coming to a conclusion, and that ball's in the air, and you need to look for the football. You're in phase, or maybe even a step behind. We could talk about that. All right. Well, good, Lance. Good. So this is a relevant topic right here. So, you know that ball is coming, but yet you choose to just play the receiver's hands. And I'm telling you, what I'm seeing a lot of is one of two things. A, receivers are getting really good at showing their hands late. So even just playing the football, playing the receiver's hands as a tactic, as a technique, is not yielding what it has in the past. You know, receivers aren't just running like this for 2 or 3 steps now with their hands in the air, allowing you to see exactly the location of the football. All right. If they put their hands up right here, you know the ball is coming to that area and you could stick your hand in there and knock the ball out. That's becoming a more and more difficult proposition because they'll run and then at the last second they'll throw their hands up and you don't have enough time to dig your hand in there and be a factor in pulling the ball out. That's number one. Number two is a lot of times the ball is underthrown and the DB is just running into the wide receiver and they're getting a free, if they're either catching the ball anyway, or they're getting a free 15-yard penalty. You know, for you guys that are in the NFL, that's a spot foul, which is even more punitive. It's very damaging to your defensive efforts if you get either one of those, whether there's the 15-yard variety or the spot foul. We're going to probably see that in tonight's game as the Cardinals take on the Cowboys. There'll probably be a few pass interference penalties similar to the one that I just described. And so, in the short space of amount of time that I'm talking about this is how we alleviate that problem. Number one, within practice, you want to just start getting into that habit of turning your head around. Now, I don't know what your situation might be. Maybe you're in a battle. Maybe your position is not so solid. So that gives you some fear to be trying something new. Because if you have a couple of bad reps in practice or you just have a bad week of practice, you're going to get sat down. Okay. Hopefully that's not your situation and you do have the liberty to try some things. If that is the case and you have the freedom to do that, I would highly recommend that within your practice, you're in your 7-on-7 period, you're in your team period, you practice getting your head around, even when maybe you are a step behind. And I'm talking specifically for my high school guys, because high school quarterbacks just aren't pinpoint like that. If you get one or two during the entire season, you're probably in a good area for football. And that's probably the max as to what you'll get. Most of the time, that receiver is slowing down for the football because, high school quarterbacks tend to not have the arm to get it out there. Or you've got a guy with a really strong arm, doesn't know how strong his arm is, and he's overthrowing the ball anyway. And if you're looking back for the ball, there's no harm, no foul. There are going to be very few on the money throws on post and go routes in high school football. So I would dare say that about college as well. But you've got to practice doing this in practice. So 7-on-7 team, turn your head around, find a football on all of those deep throws. Then either pre-practice or post-practice, you try to catch as many as you can. You take a 10, 15-minute period out there and just catch deep balls. If you can catch 15 or 20 of those after practice, at the end of the week, that's 80 footballs you probably weren't going to catch otherwise, and you just get more and more comfortable catching a deep thrown football. Now, when I tell guys, hey, work on your hands, the majority of guys will take that as, okay, I'll stand and play catch with someone before or after practice. So we're 15, 20 yards apart. They throw me the ball, I catch it, I throw it back to them. That's not what's happening to you in the game. That's not the thing that you're struggling with. It's not the 15, 20-yard throw where you're facing the guy throwing the ball. You're seeing the ball out of his hand. You're tracking the ball into your hands. These are not the throws that you're getting. So, all right, I get it. You might do that just to work on your hands. I get that part, just making sure your hands are right. But 9 times out of 10, the problem is not a guy's hands. Yeah, there's some guys who don't frame the ball right. Their hands might be too wide, or they have their hands like this and the ball goes through, or their hands are too flat. Okay, that might happen. 9 times out of 10, it's either the eyes or they just have an inability to track a deep thrown football. And the only way you're going to fix that, the only way you're going to get better at that is actually running down the field, looking to the side. So let's say we're doing this drill to help us with the go ball. So you're lined up out by the numbers. There's a quarterback standing there. He says go. You kick slide. You turn. You run up the field. You're looking towards the sidelines as you would if a guy was running a go route. This is post practice, so you don't have a receiver running down the field with you. They're going to be tired and not want to do this. You're doing this by yourself. So you're running down the field. You're looking to the sidelines. Quarterback throws the ball. Halfway to the ball, getting there, he yells out ball. And you turn your head around, track the ball late, traveling from a far distance, and you just get used to being able to judge the trajectory of the football, get your hands on it. If you do not do this, you'll get in a game, you'll turn your head around in that situation, and you're going to be understandably very nervous. Is the ball coming right to me? Is the ball going to go over my head? Is the ball too short? You're going to get nervous, and you might be right there in a position to make a play, and then you don't make the play because you simply have not caught enough footballs. I have had training sessions with high schoolers where, I've done situations where guys are running down the field with a wide receiver or a DB playing a wide receiver. We throw the ball, we try to play it. I've also had times where I have removed everyone and it's just a DB and I throw the ball deep down the field, and you'd be surprised how many of those throws guys misjudge, they miss, and they drop. And if that's you, if you can't run 10 times in a row down the field and catch a deep ball that's thrown to you, all right? And I'm not saying a ball that's thrown out of bounds or grossly underthrown, that's reasonably thrown in your area. If you can't catch 10 of those in a row by yourself, you definitely need to keep doing this drill. You're not ready to consistently look for the football. And what are we doing at defensive back? What is the stat that we get measured by? The stat we get measured by is interceptions. And the only way we're going to go about getting those interceptions is by turning our head around and looking. If you think you're just going to play a wide receiver's hands and see the ball in his hands and rip it out of his hands 5-6 times in a season to get your interceptions, it's not going to happen. That's not how this thing is going to happen. Your interceptions are going to come from you seeing that football into your hands and catching it. And seeing as though in a lot of high school football or even college football, you're playing some man-to-man, and a lot of times that's press. And even if it's not press, you're playing off man. The man-to-man coverage draws deep throws. That's just the big play for high school offenses. When a team is playing man, they're going to throw the ball deep. And so if you have a deficiency there, every time you guys play man, it's going to be an issue for you. It's just going to be a situation where you don't get an interception. Or you can turn yourself in overnight to a guy that gets 8, 9, 10 interceptions in a season. So a lot of you guys are near the end of your season, or your season's already over and you have whatever your interception total was. If you went through a whole season, started every game, and you're sitting here now having only had 1 or 2 interceptions during the season, I know you're disappointed. You better be disappointed. You can go from 2 interceptions this season to 8 or 9 interceptions next season just by doing what it is that I have told you to do in this video. You catch 15, 20 footballs either pre or post practice, or if you're able to do both, even better. That's 80 footballs at the end of the week. During the springtime, that's 100 a week. If you do 80 of those 5 weeks into the season, that's 5 times 80 is 400 footballs that you've caught. There's no way you're not going to get better at catching that ball. And if you've gotten better at catching that ball while you're running down the field with that wide receiver and turn around, I guarantee you will panic less. You'll be able to judge that football better. And now you will use all the skills that you've been developing through all of those catches to attack the football just as much as that wide receiver is looking to attack that football. So now, what was a 30 to 70 proposition of him catching that football now turns into a 50-50 proposition. And if the ball is underthrown or thrown too far to the inside, which where most footballs are thrown, now it turns to 70 for us, 30 for them, 80 for us, 20 for them. And that's how I see guys, especially in the high school level, racking up high interception totals. There's 2 ways. They have really good ball skills. All right. I've seen cornerbacks do that. I watch highlight videos all the time. I'll watch a highlight video of a top guy and I will see him get like 5 or 6 interceptions just off of fades alone. Guy was pressing, turned out, ran out, quarterback threw the ball. It's, not a dime. Okay. And he gets his head around it and it's an easy interception. So it's either great ball skills or really high IQ or both. If you want to be a guy that goes from 1 or 2 interceptions a year to 8, 9, 10 interceptions, this is what you need to do. Okay. I've had the pleasure of working with, over in the last 5 years, 4 guys that had double-digit interceptions in their final high school season. One was Gabe Taylor. This is the younger brother of Sean Taylor, 10 interceptions in his final season. Another guy that's at Oregon now by the name of Jaden Kennedy. He had 10 or 11 interceptions his final season. And then there's a young man by the name of Ben Hanks, who's a freshman right now at Florida. He had 13 interceptions playing down here in Dade County, which is, serious high school football, had 13 interceptions. And this is how those guys did that. So just a little short live to come on here and talk to you guys about that. I hope you guys take that to heart. Also, just want to mention that I'm going to be doing more and more of these lives. I'm looking to do them around this time. I don't, if it doesn't work for guys because you're at practice or you're out and about, maybe we shift the time, or, I'll be experimenting with the times. But just know I'm going to occasionally do some random lives like this one and jump on there. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you did, you can drop a comment on this video as you're watching it, and let me know some other things that you guys are struggling with, that you find challenging, or that you would like some help with. That will go a long way in some of the topics that I cover in the future. But for now, appreciate you guys joining me on the live. As always, All Eyes DB Camp, consistency breeds results.